I ask a question, I got an answer. Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me plan for POE 2. So, I made a video the other day talking about a particular combination of nodes on the passive tree that seemed obviously really good to me, and I couldn't really figure out why it wasn't really good. So I made a video asking why it would not be fantastic. So the combo in question was relatively simple. It was just having Mind Over Matter with Eldritch Battery and Chaos Inoculation. So those three nodes together seem to give you a huge amount of mana, and then with that huge amount of mana, you could then stack huge amounts of survivability. You'd be able to scale it with Archmage was my plan as well, so that you could just do a huge amount of damage. And we also had instant mana leech on top of that from the Monk Ascendancy. Now, the issue with this, as I have now learned from all of you guys, a couple of things I thought about after myself, but for the most part, this came from you guys. There's kind of 5 main problems with this. Firstly, I didn't understand how conversion works. So I was talking about scaling all of your ES up very high and then using Eldritch Battery to transform all of your energy shield into mana. Now, the reason this doesn't work is because none of the scaling happens before conversion. It converts first and then is multiplied. However, that entire point is moot apparently, because it seems to be confirmed that Eldritch Battery is not like it was shown in Dreamcore's video. So originally in Dreamcore's video, it looked like Eldritch Battery was going to convert all of your energy shield into mana. That's what it said on the node. It has apparently been confirmed by people at GGG that this is not how it works. Our current thinking is that it's going to be essentially the same as it is in Path of Exile 1, which is to say it's going to make your energy shield block your mana rather than blocking your health. However, it's not going to change it fundamentally into mana. The source for this, people in my comments, there was a couple of people in my comments telling me this, but the only kind of, I would say second-hand source essentially is Ghazi. Ghazi was saying this. Big content creator, if you don't know who Ghazi is for PoE 2. If you want to do any minion stuff, look him up because he knows a lot about minions. But Ghazi was saying that it's been confirmed to him by people from GGG that this was actually an old version of the node that they were playing with, and that's not what it's going to be like in early access. So seemingly it's, I assume, going to be the same as in PoE 1. So the whole point about scaling ES is all moot anyway. So you can stack the ES and then just put the ES on top if you want to use Eldritch Battery. So, moving on. I was talking about using Archmage to scale, and the reason I was doing that is because we have seen in PoE 2 that we have access to Spell Leech. In PoE 1, it pretty much doesn't exist, so you can't really leech with spells very easily. But in PoE 2, we have seen that there is Spell Leech. But, as people probably rightly pointed out to me, the only place we've seen this is in the Blood Mage Ascendancy for the Witch. So, it's very possible, and even I would say probable, that the fact that it is in an Ascendancy means it's probably not easily accessible or accessible at all anywhere outside of Ascendancies. Because you want the Ascendancy node to be really impactful, right? So if you have a really impactful node on the Ascendancy, it probably means you can't get it easily in other places. So getting Spell Leech is probably not viable, which means Archmage isn't viable, which means the easy way of scaling damage doesn't exist. But you could still do this with attacks, theoretically. It's just whether or not we're going to be able to get enough damage with attacks for Leech to be, like, fully sustainable, we'll have to see. That's the other kind of minor point, is that Mana Leech itself just might be really hard to scale. I didn't really consider that, but it might just be next to impossible to be able to scale your Mana Leech high enough that you can fully sustain off one ability, which you would kind of have to if you were doing a build like this. And finally, the last point that a lot of people brought up was stun. How are you're gonna be stunned constantly if you have 1 HP and you don't use your energy shield to protect the HP? I thought of this, I just didn't really say anything in the video because in my mind it seemed really obvious that there'd just be a node that would make me completely stun immune. I'm thinking something similar to Unwavering Stance, which you can get in PoE 1, which makes it so that you can't avoid attacks but you're immune to stun. But as soon as people asked the question, it made me think about it, and in reality, there's no real reason to assume that there's going to be a node like that. I was just kind of assuming there was, because it was in PoE 1, therefore it'd be really easy to get stun immune in PoE 2. There's no real reason to assume that. Additionally, there is another way to possibly fix it, however. I got one of my viewers, I'll just put his name up on the screen now, pointed out that there is a stun avoid charm available in the game. If you are able to get that up to 100% uptime, that's perfectly viable. We'll be able to essentially just make ourselves stun immune just with a charm. But it remains to be seen whether or not you can scale that to be so efficient that it's just always active. I have it on the screen now. I think it's 2.5 seconds of invulnerability, and it takes like 40 charm charges. The issue is we don't really know how quickly you regain charm charges. We know you get it the same way you get flask charges, so you get it just by hitting things. But how quickly that actually works and how often you can reliably be immune to the things that you're putting charms on for remains to be seen. Presumably you can get them up to 100% because that seems to be their point. It seems to be a way of solving problems like that, so I assume you can get it up to like 100%, but we'll see. It is possible that the stun is still an issue, but I feel like stun is usually relatively easy to avoid, or negate, I should say. But yeah, that were all the problems with it. So they're the reasons it's not going to be OP as I was thinking, although it does still seem to be relatively good defensive-wise. The issue here is just we need to figure out a way to scale damage without Spell Leech, because I think everyone's right. I think Spell Leech is probably not going to exist, which means you have to scale off physical damage, which is a lot more difficult, I would say. We'll see. Maybe it will be relatively easy, but I'm still going to go Monk because I still like this idea of the Darkness Monk. It's a cool ascendancy. But yeah, that's it. Just a kind of correction on the answer to my questions from the previous video of why this isn't going to be as OP as I was expecting. Anyway, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.